Hey everybody, Walt Dickinson here, founder brewer at Wicked Weed Brewing, and I'm here to talk about Freak, a beer that it's important that we revisit the core brands or the things that really built the company sometimes. And I really want to just kind of tell the story of this beer, and then I'll tell you about the beer. This is Wicked Weed. I mean, this is the beer that we made when we opened Wicked Weed. This was the only beer that Luke and I recipe tested before opening the brewery. Every other brew we ever did, we were basically just making it up kind of on the fly, which was part of our concept, right? Like, we wanted to be innovative, we wanted to challenge ourselves, but it was really important that we nailed this just classic West Coast style double IPA. And I don't think it's something that we hide from anybody. I mean, Russian River, obviously there's a bunch of breweries that have been hugely influential to us, but Russian River and Vinny and the work he did with kind of creating the double IPA and Pliny the Elder and that brand, and then obviously the amazing breadth of his portfolio and the things he does on the sour side, those were all a huge influence to us. And we were just in love with that idea of that beer, right? A 8.5%, 8% double IPA that was dry, huge hop aromatics. I mean, just really expressed hops in like a way that we hadn't really experienced before that. And you know, it was very much kind of the birth of, I think, the modern hoppy beer movement. So for us, like, if we were going to have a flagship, we wanted it to say Wicked Weed. We wanted to say big and in your face and aromatic and flavorful. And I think this is a beer that really invoked that. Like, it was the best version of what I think IPA was at that moment. And so we spent, you know, I can't remember, hundreds of batches over a 2-year period where, you know, I would brew a batch and I'd ship it up to Luke in Delaware and he would taste it and we'd talk about it, and then he'd brew a batch and ship it back. And so it was just this, you know, back and forth of, you know, this beer kind of had about 5 different names before it was Freak, and it had probably 50, 100 different recipes to get to where it was. And when we opened and I filled that first tank of Freak and I tasted it for the first time, my first professionally made beer out of a 15-barrel tank in the cooler, and I tasted it out of that cooler, and it was just magic. I mean, that beauty of efficiency and scale that you have on professional equipment instead of homebrewing equipment, oh my God, it was the best beer I'd ever made, and the best beer Luke and I had ever made at that point. And it was the heart and soul of the brewery for at least the first year, as far as the best-selling beer and the one that people came to see us for. And then obviously as we grew, you know, Black Angel and the sour program happened, and Pernicious and all the other hoppy beers. So, you know, it's changed over time, but this is still one of our best sellers at the pub, the beer that I think really is the heart and soul of the Wicked Weed program, something that we all maybe neglect sometimes, but it's important to remember it's a world-class double IPA and really amazing. I mean, now to speak about the beer, it's all about that tangerine, that dank, that balance of kind of those kind of hoppy, you know, weed-like aromatics paired with like big citrus, classic citrus though, you know, not so much Southern Hemisphere, like tropical fruit. We're talking like tangerine and like fresh orange zest and a little bit of like lemon, and then all that pine resin, and it's just layers and layers of that with like basically no malt, but there's a touch of crystal in there. It kind of gives you that nice, again, it drives home that resinous character. So anyways, a dangerous beer, super drinkable beer, and one that without this beer there would be no Wicked Weed. So thank you, Freak, and thank you for, you know, drinking it. So cheers. Get a bottle, remember, it's good.